Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a few stories up on the site now. A couple about the whole agreement between the city and the Commanders to get back to RFK, and then also about a new player for the Commanders, kicker Matt Gay. So give that a read. Those are all up at ESPN.com. Then I'll talk about Matt Gay in a minute. But in a few minutes, I'll be joined by Washington Commanders owner Josh Harris. I had the chance to talk to him for a few minutes after all the festivities on Monday. I think he was kind of worn out by that point. But I wanted to play the last, it's about 7.5 minutes or so. So if you really don't want to hear what I have to say about defensive ends, about the RFK situation, talking to some council members, skip right ahead to the last about 7.50 or so of this interview or of this episode, and you can just listen to Josh Harris. It is an audio interview. So I know you'd like to see the video, but when I'm sitting there at a table with a one-on-one, I'm not going to put a camera up there. It gets awkward. So much rather have a good conversation. You can listen to it on audio, but you get to see my pretty face for the next 5, 6, 7 minutes before we get to that point. So isn't that a big bonus for you? Lucky you guys. Anyway, so just wait a few minutes. I'm going to get to him in several minutes. Again, if you want to skip right to the end, 7:50, there you go. You have been told. So I don't want to hear any complaints about like, oh, whatever. Get to the last 7:50 and get on. There you go. If that's all you want to hear. If you want to hear about others, let's go. Matt Gay signed, Zane Gonzalez waived. They signed Gay to a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million. He will get $4.35 million guaranteed. You give a kicker a contract like that, you're going to keep him. So they let Gonzalez go. And for those wondering about competition, that was the competition. Gay just won it. So typically teams don't like to bring in multiple kickers to a training camp unless you absolutely don't have a guy, because it takes up a spot for another spot that they'd like to try guys out who have maybe a better chance to make the roster. We've also seen with kickers, with punters, that listen, they didn't have any of these kickers in camp last year. They went out and got Seibert and Gonzalez, and they did fine for the year. So that's why. But anyways, now they got Gay, and you have to tip your cap to Gonzalez. He came through when they needed him, won the Tampa Bay game with a doink. I also think one of the positive things he did for himself, for what he goes through, is bring attention to the OCD, and he embraced the situation. Like it was, the cameras caught him. There was kind of made fun of, but then he used it to talk, used the platform to talk about what he goes through. And I think that was always appreciative, and I think also impressive. So hats off to him for what he did here. But now they have Gay. Now Gay is about an 85.5% kicker for his career, but he's got two-year chunks that were very different, and it's mainly because of the distance. So from 2021 to 2022, he made 94% of his kicks. The last 2 years, it was about 84% of his kicks. The big difference in the better years, he was 11 of 14 from 50 yards or longer. The last 2 years, 11 of 22 from 50 or longer. That's going to bring down your percentage. Been very good on extra points, been very good overall. It's just that 50-yard kick, that's been the measuring stick, or that's been the difference between a great years and some mediocre years or average years, right? So anyways, but he's their kicker. There you go. I want to talk about RFK for a minute, because that's the whole topic with Josh Harris. And obviously people want to know, what's going to happen with the DC Council? So is it going to get approval or not? You talk to some people who are very familiar with the process, and they feel pretty confident that it will be passed. However, the devil is always in the details. And so when these council members start digging into what the details are, it's a little bit somewhat akin to an agent, coming out and saying, hey, my guy got 3 years and $70 million. Well, then when you dig into the details, you realize maybe the last year is worth 60. So it's really kind of a fake contract. And it's not quite the same here. This isn't fake, but the devil's in the details. And I think once they dig in the details, I think you're going to see more, a lot of questions being raised for sure. And I think the way it's constructed now, I don't know that it would pass. I talked to one member who did not think it would. as it's constructed right now. That doesn't mean it won't. It just means there probably is going to be work to do to get it across the goal line, right? And to get that shovel in the dirt. And that's the key phrase for me, shovel in the dirt. Once that dirt shovels in the dirt, then you believe for sure. I do think there's more optimism with this, but it's going to take some maneuvering. And there are some people who are now they need 7 votes. And one person predicted to me that they'd get, he said the over-under on the votes would be 8.5. We'll see, right? And this person is familiar with these council members and all that. So anyway, so there, in other words, there's optimism, but there's also going to be trying to get something for your constituents to make this palatable for them. There's going to be some who I think will probably not vote for it regardless, unless you give up big concessions. Does that mean everybody's in that mindset? No, but for some, the parking garage, I think the number of parking spaces is just too high. And I think what some people would rather do is maybe take that money, invest in the metro stations around there, and maybe build a new one to help give people other opportunities to get to the game other than just the DC Armory. Because if you have 65,000 seats, obviously, if you have a lot of people just taking the metro, then it gets really, really fogged. And I think they'd like to, if you can open another one, maybe that makes it easier. That's the feeling. Anyways, I think there's work to be done to get this across, but for sure, there is optimism by the people involved that they can get it there. And just have to wait and see. But I think it's going to be something obviously a lot of us are going to be talking to people in the city just to see what they think of it and the chances of getting it through, to see can they get it done, and will they actually be playing at the site of RFK, or what's going to happen. I don't have a guess, because I just don't know. But I do think if it gets through, that it'll look a little bit different than it does now, because I think they're going to have to appease some of the council members to cross that goal line. But this team has been very active dealing with the council members over the last couple of years. And somebody told me it's like really when Bruce Allen went out, that's when they increased their presence with the council members. So, and just, talking to them, what do they want, and trying to work with them, because you have to have a working relationship. And it's funny because somebody asked me on the live stream last night about would they bring in Goodell to do that. I think that would be a mistake. You don't need to bring in muscle here. You need to work with them. You don't got to kind of bring in the power to not maybe intimidate or whatever, but you got to work with them to get it, because their first and foremost care should be for their constituents and what do they want, what's best for them and what's best for the city. Can you get it to that point? That will be the key. And so we'll stay tuned for all that. Once they have not received the official budget yet from the mayor, once they get that, then they have like 70 days to approve it. I don't know that it'll take that long, but there's certainly going to be a lot of back and forth to try to get it to the deal that they're going to need to make it palatable to get 7 votes from the council. So now let's get, oh, by the way, before I want to talk about defensive ends in a minute, but I did want to give you, just let you know about a product that I've been trying, man. And I really enjoy it. It's Huel. It's a strawberry banana black edition. It's a meal, folks. Anybody who knows me knows I'm very mindful of my protein. I get it in a variety of forms. When I want a quick, easy to grab meal in the morning, I'm going for this Huel, the strawberry banana shake. I really, really like the strawberry banana. That's my go-to. Pour it over a little bit of ice, like the taste. I'm not hungry again until lunch. So if you need a quick meal in the morning, give it a shot. So if you want to get this, new customers get 15% off plus a free gift at huel.com, HUEL.com, when you use my code KEIM, KEIM. Don't miss out. Try it today. They've sold more than 500 million meals around the world. So there's proof that other people like it as well. Anyways, that's 15% off plus a free gift for new customers using my exclusive code KEIM, KEIM, at huel.com. So also make sure you read the description for the terms and conditions of this offer. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled. So I appreciate you sticking through that. Now, let's get to the defensive ends. So we know that Washington still needs to get some defensive end help. However, there aren't a lot of guys in the market that I think would qualify as legitimate help for them. I know people ask me about Von Miller's Darius Smith. I'm talking to some people who are familiar with what's going on in Buffalo. They were not all that impressed with Von Miller down the stretch or last season. The feeling has been that the ACL, the injuries have added up and kind of really reduced his game. So you'd get a big name. I don't know that I don't think you're going to get the player you think you would, or you would hope to be getting. So I don't know if they did sign him. I would say you'd have to cross a lot of fingers to hope that it would work out. But I don't, again, he's a big name, but is he the same guy he was a few years ago? It does not sound like it. In fact, the Bills were playing him a little bit less toward the end of the season. Anyways, Zadarius Smith, he's still out there. I think he's the guy, to me, that would make the most sense. I think he makes the most sense for other teams as well. So we'll see. I think I think Detroit would be wise to bring him back. I don't know that they will. He was playing pretty well for Cleveland, did a nice job for Detroit. He's the guy I think would help because he can rush outside, he can rush inside. And he's a good veteran. He can get you in that 8 to 10 sack range. They don't have a guy like that. So I think he would be the one I would watch, that I would say, like, who should you really want to target? It's him. Because when you start going down the list of available free agent defensive ends, there aren't a lot there. And I'm going to be talking more about this as we move forward here. But there aren't a lot there that I think, yes, he's better than what they have. Like, that's the key. He has to be better than what they have, because otherwise you're bringing a guy in here who may or may not be, a factor on Sundays. Maybe he doesn't play that much, but you need a guy who can come in, be a situational pass rusher. I think, again, I'd go after Zadarius Smith. I don't know yet the interest in him. So I don't want to lead anybody astray and say that they're going after him. That's just the guy that I would look to, because I think he's a guy who's still productive and can still help in multiple ways, has some versatility, which is what Dan Quinn likes. Anyways, so there you go. Hey, that's it for me, folks. I'll be getting into that in the future, in future podcasts as well, because I think it's an important topic, and just to look at the defense in general. Also, I will be joined by, I had a really good conversation with James Crepea, who covered Josh Connolly, for the Oregonian, and he has really good insight on him. I'm going to play that early next week. Also going to have an interview with Jay Gruden for Thursday. Want to talk about the Commanders offseason and the draft. Jay pays a lot of attention to the draft, so I wanted to get his thoughts on that. Always insightful from him. So that'll come out Thursday, and I have a few other things for next week as well. And I talked to Brent Pry, the Virginia Tech head coach, on Jalen Lane. That will be next week as well. So we're stacking up some shows here, folks. We also have rookie mini camp next week, a week from this Friday. So, folks, I'm done talking. Here you go. Here's Washington Commanders owner Josh Harris.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we've just started the NBA and NHL playoffs, which has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the MLB, NHL, and the UFC, BetOnline remains the number one online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and a live casino. Bet online. The game starts here.
When does it hit you? Like, what was the moment where it hit you like, here it is? And what do you remember about that moment?
Yeah, so last week we came in and we spoke with the mayor, and she's like, time to go. And that was when all of a sudden, okay, there had been a lot of preparations, there had been a lot of discussions. We were all sitting in a room, and we were speaking about, the press conference. It was late last week, actually. I mean, this stuff comes together pretty quickly. And there was a term sheet there, and at the end we signed it, and we were off.
You guys are contributing the size, $2.7 billion, most probably. Why that much? Like, why did you want to go that much? 24% public funds, a low end amount. So you guys are obviously on the hook for a lot. Yeah. What made that such a good investment for you?
Well, again, we were trying to do something that build like the best stadium in the country, right, or even potentially the world. We felt that we wanted to give it the maximum chance of succeeding, and so for us, the financial side of it, while important, was secondary, and so we negotiated the best deal we could that we thought that DC would agree with, and at that point, we had to make a decision, and so we decided that locating the site in RFK was better for all of us than the alternatives that we had, and so DC has done a good job. DC is very well set up. They've done this obviously with Capital One and with some other, Nats Park, and they kind of know what they're doing in this context, right? And so they were aware of how this thing benchmarked and their own need to, make it look like it was a good deal for DC. And the reality is that DC is going through unfortunately going through some tough times, right? So that had to be recognized in all this, and that's how we ended up where we ended up.
You when you bought the team, you talked about how your financial advisors might tell you that's not the greatest investment with how much you did. What would they tell you about this one?
So when we bought the team, obviously we paid the highest price in NFL history, or in history of sports world, actually. And now that price looks okay. So my financial advisor would be wrong, but this is not. Any stadiums are not, great finance. They're infrastructure type investments. So you're going to make, this is not something that's going to be substantially, beneficial to us in terms of the returns that I could get, here or somewhere else on my capital. It's more about creating an amazing football franchise and entertainment and access to entertainment and making it bigger than just football, making it part of the community. So the payback on this is going to take many, many years. The returns on this will take many, many years. And hopefully you do the right thing, and hopefully it ends up benefiting at some point, but it's a much longer horizon.
Did you get a sense from Roger or other owners how important it was for this team to be back in the city throughout this process at all?
Yeah, obviously people understood RFK. They understood the power of RFK. They understood that DC is I'd say the other owners. Roger grew up here, so he understands the better. But the other owners sort of understood, hey, why DC would be a preferred location. But at the end of the day, it was ours. I mean, they were supportive of that, and clearly they appreciated that we had the same vision. But they also understand, because they've been through many of them through it, that it's very complicated. It may not be, sometimes your first choice may not be the choice that you end up with. So, we had to we needed a new place to play. The stadium was getting old, so we had to go down a couple different tracks.
With the DC Council, because they've got to approve this, what confidence do you have just from your discussions to this point with the mayor, with other maybe council members, what confidence that you have that this will get through that?
Well, I mean, they have to do their work. They're early in their process. I just think that, as I said this morning, that the project is so beneficial to DC in so many ways that the project itself will sell the DC council. They have to look at it. They have to agree. But when you lay this thing out, and the mayor did a good job of laying it out in terms of the thousands of jobs, the billions of tax revenue, and the reality is on that site right now you have a crumbling, massive concrete that doesn't look good, and and anything you do on that site, DC's gonna have to spend the money to prepare the infrastructure. And so, the choice is you prepare the infrastructure for this, you get this massive investment, or you just leave it, right, in some sense. And so I think it'll sell itself.
So just one more quick thing then. On the stadium itself, the dome, what are the odds, or how much are you looking at possibly a retractable roof? And you're an RFK guy, will there be some bouncy stands?
Yeah, so my vision is to bring this as close to our RFK as we can. I just think RFK was what it was. It was, it's truly an inspirational place, right? So we're gonna look at all that. We're early in all that planning. Obviously I care about football,
right?
and the roof, like they're, outdoor football. It's not, that was something that, we're doing because we thought that the entertainment side of this and for the local community was better. But we're gonna, in the context of a roof, we're gonna look at how do we create, that feeling of RFK as it existed as close as we can. And obviously, I don't know if that's bouncy seats. We're looking at grass. We're looking at a lot of different things in the context of having the roof. We haven't decided on the retractable, non-retractable yet. So all those details now, this is now where we get to work. But my vision is what you already know. I mean, and that's the great thing about it. We have a blueprint.
Can you exhale now?
Not really, because you still have I think 70 days to get through, and it's not quite exhaling. And I'm just, even when you're up, it feels like we have a lot of momentum. I think you just keep focused.
Thank you. Appreciate
you.
it. If you're constantly on the move or just tired of skipping meals, Huel has you covered. They're today's sponsor, spelled Huel, and their Black Edition Ready to Drink is a total game changer. It's a complete meal in one bottle with 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar, so you feel full, focused, and ready for your day. No prep, no cleanup, just grab and go. Huel's already sold more than 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. New customers get 15% off plus a free gift at huel.com, huel.com, when you use my code KEIM, K-E-I-M. Don't miss out. Try it today. And anyone who knows me knows I'm very mindful of my protein intake. I get it in a variety of forms, and when I want a quick, easy-to-grab meal in the morning, I go for the Strawberry Banana Black Edition shake. I pour it over a little bit of ice, and I like the taste, and I'm not hungry again until lunchtime. If you need a quick meal in the morning, give it a shot. So that's 15% off plus a free gift for new customers using my exclusive code KEIM, K-E-I-M, at huel.com. Please see the description for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Josh for taking a few minutes after a hectic day for talking to me. I used some of that stuff for ESPN.com, of course, but I wanted to play it for you because I think it was important. Anyways, appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will talk to you on Thursday.